Hello and welcome to another episode of Luna Live. With me, I have Ellen Begaii. She is a lovely lady who has been through a rough time with toxic relationships. She really burnt out. Um, Doing like a corporate job, and while she was on leave she actually completely turned her life around, and she now helps other women to do the same. So I will, without further ado, let Ellen tell her story, and then I'm sure we'll go down some fun rabbit holes. Over to you, Ellen.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
You're very
Uh,
welcome.
yeah, like you said, I was in corporate America, suffered massive burnout along with some other medical issues that I was resolving, and started finding the path of finding more positivity in life to be able
Hmm.
to bring, basically manifest happier things into life. And it has brought me on a journey where I can help other women who have been through abusive relationships
Hmm.
and through raising teens and all of those really, really difficult times.
Yeah.
Now I help build that bridge so you can just come through, see the other side, and find that positive aspect of whatever you're going through.
Yeah, so me and you actually do similar things. I do. So I help people also who've been through toxic relationships, but I also help them with their relationship with food, because I found a really real correlation between people's relationship with food and relationship with other people. And it obviously all boils down to that self-love, which I'm sure you know. Um, but what was it? So let's go back to kind of the beginning. Where was it that you think that drew you to kind of toxic relationships with other people? So obviously it's not always the case, but it usually tends to be like that you've got either an absent parent or quite a toxic parent, or that where do you think your journey started really? I mean, I know you could probably go on forever about that, but do you know what I mean?
Well, so it's been really interesting because through this journey, I started discovering things that I didn't even remember.
Mm,
So I'm a little bit different in that I was raised by amazing parents.
yeah.
They have been married over 50 years. They were very supportive.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything like that. However, through looking back through things, I realized that the first time that I was sexually assaulted was
Mm,
when I was in sixth grade on the school bus.
wow.
And at that age, I had absolutely no idea that
Yeah.
what was going on was wrong. And I can now see how it affected my self image, and I never told my parents because I didn't want them to be disappointed in me. So
Mm,
now at 46 years old, I'm
mm,
looking back and going, my God, no wonder all of these things happened.
yeah.
And so very interesting to be able to get in touch with that and recognize it and move forward from something I didn't even realize happened.
It's odd, isn't it? Because you kind of just do life, but you don't recognize that there's any connection between something like awful that might have happened to you, or you just kind of go on with life, and then you're going, yeah. But I've had this discussion before where I've said, for example, for me, I tried to bury in drugs at one point. I tried to bury in drink. I buried in, toxic men and stuff like that. And it was just like, why am I so attracted to drama? Why is drama following me around everywhere? And until you actually stop and look inside and recognize where the journey started, it's really difficult. You're just there like, this is weird. Why have I got this path? And it's like, no, it does happen for a reason. It's not, you're not the type of, you don't just kind of come into the world and you draw all these like toxic people in. But it could also be that where your parents, this is the, and it's um, the least kind of common thing is if people have had parents that were really lovely and were like two sets of parents that were very chill, like two parents that were very chilled, really lovely, really kind-hearted people, that you're grown up not knowing, like expecting everyone to be like that. which actually makes you vulnerable for people to then obviously like snap you up. The people that, like, if you've had really, and I've only seen a few kind of cases, this is usually that there's one toxic parent, but there has been a couple of people that I've spoken to and they've gone, I don't know why I was drawn to it. Like, my parents were lovely. They were so soft and kind and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, it's because you went into the big bad world thinking everyone is going to be like that. And it's like, obviously not the case. Um, but what was, I mean, are you comfortable talking about that first time on the bus, or are you, so what was the story? What happened?
The boy that was on the bus, we were in the back seat of the bus, and he was the same age as me, and
Mm,
he had taken his member out
yeah,
and made me play with it and told me that if I didn't, that he would tell everybody on the bus that I did it anyway, so I might as well. And
right.
it just escalated from there. And I actually, from there, spiraled with it. I had an ex-boyfriend that held a gun to my head, and I
Oh my
had to have
goodness.
security take me to school. I had another one that held me underwater, asked my best friend if he should kill me. It just set off this whole history of one
Mm,
after another, where I kept thinking everybody would be, as like you were saying, as wonderful as my family was, and that was not the case. And
no.
of course, the people that have the drama are so exciting. And
Hmm.
so, you think, oh, well, I'm boring and this person's exciting and I'll go with them. And then all of a sudden, like you're saying, there's the drugs, there's the drink, there's
Yeah.
all of
Well,
these
you
bad
tend
choices.
to, yeah, you tend to be attracted to the things that you lack in yourself. So sometimes that does mean, like, if you're a good person, that does a lot of the time means that you're actually attracted to bad stuff because you lack it in yourself. So you're like, oh, that's exciting, which is why obviously to grow up with balance is what you really need. You need one parent, in an ideal world, you need to kind of, the father is the one that's a little bit more pushy and stuff like that, not abusive, not nasty, but a bit pushy, and then the mum is the nurturer. That's kind of, as the roles that we were given. But it's like, if you've got two people that are really lovely, then it's like it almost doesn't prepare you for the world, and you're like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I had a similar story in the sense of my first sexual assault that I can remember, although I was very sexually interested throughout my whole childhood. So I think there is something that I've suppressed, but I don't know. Like, obviously it's suppressed, and I've got a lot of work to dig into that a bit more so. But um, the first that I remember was I was 12, so um, and I went to, it was like I used to go to this youth club every weekend. It was a church youth club, and I used to get smashed off my face in this church. But and we used to um there was a couple of boys there that, like, they were kind of cheeky. They'd got off with everyone and whatever, and they'd invited me round for a like a sleepover for one of their birthdays. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, like, we'll go around. And then, like, one of them took me into the other room and was basically like, if you don't give me a blowjob, I'll knock you out. And, like, literally had me pinned up against the wall. And it was like, okay, well, and no, I think I actually said no, and he pulled his head back to then, like, throw it forward. And I was like, okay, okay. And then from that point on was really when it, like, I was drawn to that, like, toxic, toxic, toxic. But I was drawn to it prior, and I did have a toxic mum and a very chilled out dad. So I think there's a lot that I've suppressed, to be fair. But so what kind of, how did you meet this first bloke, the one that ended up with a knife, with a gun to your head? That's insane. That's
Yeah, that was a high school boyfriend
yeah.
who had left and went into the Air Force.
Mm,
And while he was in boot camp, I broke up with him. It was a safe time that I could break up with him.
yeah.
But then when he came back on leave, he came with his gun and came after me.
Oh my
And
goodness. Oh, what? So you'd broken up with him whilst he was away, and
yeah,
then he came back with his gun, and then
yeah,
and was like basically like what you being pissed off at you that you'd broken up with him.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
exactly.
Talk about handling rejection badly. That's like
Right?
next level. That is like. So did you go to the police? Is that something like
Yeah, what I did was I went to my school,
right?
and the principal, and they brought police in, and I would leave school for a couple of classes and go back for some other classes. So I actually had security guards every school that I went to that would come and
Wow.
get me from my car, walk me into the school, walk me back to my car when I left at night. And we finally
That's
had one.
commitment. That's really good.
It,
Like
right. Yeah.
that is
But
really
yeah,
good.
it is insane.
So
And
what did he say? So he put the gun to your head and what? Said, "Why did you leave me?" Or what did he say?
well, basically it was, if I can't have you, nobody else can.
Oh my goodness.
And one of my friends was there and rescued me, got me out of there, got
Yeah.
me in a car.
So that was a near
And
death experience. That wasn't even just a like altercation. That was like a near death experience. That must have been petrifying. And how old were you then?
I was 18.
18. Wow. So that's like a pretty vulnerable age too, as well, really. Like, um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's insane. So that's good though that they I mean we were only given these little alarms, so that was that was good that they escorted you around. So I assume he then left you alone after that, or did he keep trying?
Well, there were times he continued through the years actually calling my parents trying to find me, and I had left. I grew up in Minnesota and moved to Colorado,
Mm,
and he would keep contacting my parents, and my mom handled him. I don't know what it was, but I never heard from him for a long time.
go mum.
Then about 10 years ago, he found me on Facebook and started talking about what an amazing couple we were and that we should really try again and all of this.
Really?
I blocked him. I was like, I'm not responding at all. But yeah, and that was the last time I've heard from him.
So he clearly has some kind of OCD because you were the one that got away. Do you know, and that's always what I found as well. When I've like ended up going back to people from when I was younger or chatting to them, whatever, it's like, you're the one that got away and I'm not having that. And it's like, oh, what? Weird. Like move on. Like get over it. Like I had a boyfriend when I was 15, and I kid you not, he every opportunity that he had, there was at one point when I was 18 that he was like calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning every single like on like block withheld number, and then he was like just non-stop calling and I'd be like, what the hell, who is this? He wouldn't say anything, and then eventually he texted me like, I just wanted to hear your voice, and it was like, get over
Oh,
it.
oh my God. And what's crazy is this has been deemed okay.
Mm,
That's what just blows my mind is when you talk to women, and we all have so many similar stories.
mm.
We've all been through these things together, but none of us ever talk about it,
Yeah.
and none of us move through it. And that is what kind of drives me now, because I remember being back in that spot where I was terrified.
Uh-huh.
And, I was in fight or flight for 18 years raising my kids with their dad.
Yeah.
And it just, because of that, it is now my passion to help women to be able to find their strength
Mm.
so that they can move forward and they can avoid being in those relationships and recognize when those disastrous things are happening, because they blindside you. They
Yeah.
come out of nowhere and you're sitting afterwards going, how could I possibly have done that? And then we
I
beat
know.
ourselves up. And that's not the healthy part. We need to help each other and
Yeah.
get
Well, this is something that I really struggle with women is if, and I've done it and I've had it done to me and I reacted the same way that other people have reacted. So I do get it. But on the other hand, it really needs to be a stigma that changes. So I think like, so when my first proper boyfriend, when me and him split, so he was really nasty, he was really abusive. And when me and him split and he got a new girlfriend kind of a year down the line. I mean, I'm sure he had other ones, but the first one that was kind of public, and I messaged her and just said to her, look, I just want to pre-warn you because I would kick myself if something happened and I hadn't. So I just want to pre-warn you of, that this is kind of what he's like. I'm not saying obviously you should or shouldn't do anything with that information, but um, if you need anyone to talk to, my inbox is open. And I thought that's a very kind of like non kind of, guess what, this guy's an asshole, if I'd approached it that way. And
Right.
she did actually react quite well to it. She did initially respond and said thanks for looking out for me, like that kind of thing. And the next thing I knew, she absolutely hated me. And I was like, what the hell, like why does she hate me, what have I done wrong here? And it was basically that he'd found out that I'd messaged her, and then he had made up this story that I was this crazy ex-girlfriend that couldn't let go of him. I was just trying to ruin their relationship. I was just trying to, so she then obviously got her back up thinking that I was competition. And I
Mhm.
was like, honestly, hon, I'm not interested. Like, I'm not. And then later down the line, I think she ended up being with him for 5 or 6 years, but she did end up messaging me in the end, going, I am so sorry. I should have listened to you. And he ended up doing far worse to her than he ever did to me. And stuff like that. And I was like, and then I ended up taking her out for a drink. We had a chat about it. I was like, look, we're friends now. Like it's fine. Even though at one point she threatened to kill me. That's another story. She was like, because she honestly thought I was, and he was telling her that he was like me. Like when he wanted to play with her emotions, he'd say that we'd slept together and stuff like that. And I hadn't seen him in like 5 years. And so she was there absolutely hating me, thinking I'd slept with her boyfriend, thinking I was after him, everything like that. And then she was saying, like, come meet me, I'll stab you, all stuff. I was like, one, why would I meet someone that's just said they're gonna stab me? And then two, like, why? Like, I just really didn't know. And then obviously we became friends eventually, and it all unfolded. And we still talk every now and again. Like, she always messages me like, you're doing really well and stuff like that, because obviously he wasn't the last toxic person that I ended up with. Um, but yeah, it was. But then I had the same thing happen with me when I got with my ex, who was kind of my final abuser, because then eventually that was when I did my self work, when it got that bad that it all got to police involvement, stuff like that. That was when I finally did my self work. But when I got with him, I got the same message. I got that message from um, his ex-girlfriend, well, or a friend of his ex-girlfriend, explaining, like, he is very scary, he is very controlling, he's an absolute nutter, this, that, and the other. And he managed to spin that and make it seem like she was the crazy ex and I was kind of the same, back off bitch, but mine, that kind of thing. and then
Right.
and then we split. He was even under police investigation, and then he got with a new girl who, and I did the same thing. I messaged her and said, just so you know, because it involved a lot of stuff that could put her in danger. I said, just so you know, this, that, and the other. And he span it, and I'm the crazy ex. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so dangerous that that's a stigma, that women are just out to make each other jealous. Like, I do think more women need to realize that we are actually want to help each other. We don't want to, we're not all after stealing each other's boyfriends and this, that, and the other.
Right.
We actually do, like me and you actually do it for a living. But even people that don't do it for a living, they, like, a lot of the time, if you get a message saying this bloke is this, that, and the other, chances are be vigilant, because he is. They're not crazy. They're not, so So after the guy with the gun, you said you got with a guy that tried to drown you. What's the
Yeah. No, the guy that tried to drown me was actually earlier. That was about I was 16,
right?
and just down at a lake with my friend and the boyfriend, and we were out in the water, and he held me under, and we were kind of playing around and dunking each other in the water, so I didn't think anything of it. And then he was holding me under, and I didn't hear him ask my best friend. She told me later that night that he asked if he should kill me. And she, of course, said no. And then he tried to play it off as a joke, but holding me underwater the entire time they had this
Yeah, see, that's the
conversation.
honestly, people need to normalize saying you need more material, mate, because people do. They go, "Oh, it's just a joke. It was just a joke." Like, obviously, I don't mean that, and it's like that's a weird joke. That's not funny. Like,
Yeah.
did I kill her? Like, is that who's actually laughing at that? And if you are, how is that normal? Like, um,
Right.
so after the guy with the drowning guy, the guy with the gun, and then was it your ex-husband? Was that the next person you were with?
There were several in between, but we'll
Yeah.
skip forward. I have a long line of them. So,
Yeah, you went along that. You did
yeah,
took you a little while to learn. We're good.
yeah, it did. Well, I had left Minnesota when I was 21 and
Uh-huh.
moved to Colorado, where I had an aunt here, but really didn't have anybody for guidance. So
Right.
I was 21. I was running around learning life, and just making all of the wrong choices at the
Dodging
time.
exes, blocking
Exactly.
people nonstop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Colorado, I ended up marrying one of my roommates, and we had traveled together, and that one I don't want to go into a whole lot of
No, no, that's
detail.
fine.
It's however, the biggest lesson I can say that I learned from that relationship is there are always three stories to every situation:
Uh-huh.
yours, mine, and the truth.
You've just made me think of a song. Oh, there's a rapper that sings a song and it goes, three sides to the story, yours and mine and the goddamn truth, girl.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to find that song
I'll
because
find it. I'll link you to it.
yeah, I would love that because I don't remember where I heard it, but when I heard it, a light bulb went on
Mm,
because I was in so many situations where I felt like you were saying, I was the crazy one.
mm,
I was the one that couldn't do things right. I was the one that was failing. I was the one that was incapable.
yeah.
And when I heard that three stories to everything, my kids used to come home and tell me, Dad says you're a liar and you're a horrible person.
Mm,
And I would look at them and say, well, what do you think? Do you
yeah.
think I'm a liar and a horrible person? And they'd say no. And I'd say, okay, that's all that matters to me is what you think.
Mm,
I don't care what he thinks. And that kind of helped them through, where it was like, oh, I can have my own opinion. I don't have to think of you what my dad says to think of you, or I don't have to think of my dad what my mom thinks of him, or. And
mm,
so I was always able to tell them, just remember, I have my version of the story. He has his version of the story.
mm,
Your job, if it's important to you, is to listen to both sides and put together what you think the truth is.
mm.
Because the only truth that's out there is skewed by two different perspectives.
Yeah. No, that's a really awesome lesson to teach children as well, because I think we're very kind of guided by what we should and shouldn't think and should and shouldn't do and this, that, and the other. So to kind of teach them that your opinion is valid and you are entitled completely to your own opinion, that's a really, really cool lesson to teach your kids. So I bet they've grown up very independent, which is awesome.
Oh, Lord, have they. It's the local mother that raises independent women because, my God, they are strong.
Yeah. Oh, my little girl's only 5 months old, so we'll see.
Oh, I love that age. You get all the snuggles.
You do. You get all the snuggles. You get all the being spewed up on. It's fab. No, no, it's fine. My son is already showing his independence, so he's 5 years old, and
Oh, yes.
he's a little bit. He's kind of 5 going on 14, so he's
Yes.
I love it though. I love it. I love seeing him just be this person that is not influenced by anything else. Like that they're just like this little person with his own things that he enjoys, his own things that it's cool. It's cool to watch because I think a lot of parents try and control and manipulate their children to be a certain way, and it doesn't work.
Mhm.
It usually means that they go the complete opposite way, which means that they probably go the wrong way, not the wrong way, but they probably are drawn to quite like negative stuff because as a parent you want what's best, but you don't actually know what's best. No one does really. And
Well, and when you look at the manifestation side of it, when you are working with your kids and you are telling them you must do it this way, this way, this way, this way, and they never get to make a choice, then they're manifesting things that are negative because they feel like they do everything wrong all the time.
oh
You know,
yeah,
if you think about a job that you've been in where you have a boss that tells you only the things that you do wrong, you feel miserable in that job.
a
A
relationship.
child who doesn't, yeah, anything, any interaction with any person, really, if they don't feel like they have anything to contribute, they're going to feel worthless.
Mm,
So, a class that I took when I was going through my divorce for parenting talked about giving kids choices that you can live with.
yeah,
So, you can either go to bed now or you can go to bed in 5 minutes.
yeah,
They choose, I'm going to go to bed in 5 minutes. That's a choice that you can live with, and they're excited because they made a choice.
yeah.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, you have to give them control, or they find control. They look for control in other places. That's what I've found. Like, if I go to Phoenix, like Phoenix is my son, by the way. If I go to him, like, right, we're gonna go for a walk. We'll go to this park, but then we can go. There's 2 parks inside that park. You can choose what park. You can run around. We'll take the dog for a walk, but you can decide what pond we go to, or this, that, and the other. And because he then gets control. In fact, sometimes if it's raining, we literally drive along, and we've done it before, where I'll say, "Tell me what direction to go," and I'll go. We'll get to the top of the street. It's like left, right, left, and I'm like, all right, we'll go left, we'll go here, because then he feels like I've had some control. So then he doesn't feel the need when I'm actually telling him something to keep him safe to then go, I'm going to do the opposite thing. Because he's had his bit of kind of his control. He's had his where he feels like it's a fair relationship. Okay, I'll do something to do. You do something that I want you to do. So it does work, but it's like both me and my partner have had parents that were very like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and we both grew up with that kind of, I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing. I'll give you an example. I failed my driving test 4 times. I passed on the 5th time, and every single instructor said, you failed yourself every single time. One time I went through an amber light, which you're not allowed to do in your test, although it's legal. You're not allowed to do it in your test. And I went, I just went through an amber light. And he was like, I didn't even notice. Like, you actually just failed yourself. And like, and I'd literally just, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, and I would just call myself out, and there was just nothing I could do right. It's why, it's partially why I really struggle with like cleaning and stuff like that. My mum was an absolute clean freak. It was her way of dealing with stuff because she didn't know how to deal with emotions very well, and she hadn't dealt with her own kind of toxic past. When things would come up, she'd just get a cloth and start cleaning, and then it got to a point that she'd say like, can you empty the dishwasher, or can you clean that room, or whatever, and no matter what I did, she'd say, oh, you've missed this, or you've missed this, you missed it. And now I really struggle to clean. It might just be an excuse, maybe I'm just lazy, but I do just really like, because I'm like, what's the point, I'm not going to do it right anyway. Like, and it is
Right.
it is. So what is your like manifestation side of things? So I'm like, I love I love a bit of manifestation. Everybody's read The Secret. Everyone that's been to,
Oh,
I
yes.
literally spoke to another woman who I'm doing a podcast with the other day. And she said, like, oh, as soon as I started my journey, I got obsessed with The Secret. I was like, anyone that has done a journey has got obsessed with The Secret at some point.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And at like everybody else, my very first book was The Secret. Oh, a friend actually gave it to me on CD, and I started listening to it in my car. But it took about 3 years of listening to it before I actually heard it.
Yeah.
And then when I actually heard it, I was very surprised to find that I had manifested my current husband, because I took the example and I wrote down, okay, I've been married twice, I've been divorced twice. If I'm even going to consider being in a relationship again, this guy's going to have to meet this criteria, and absolutely nothing on it can be missing. Along comes my husband, which when we first started dating, both of us were saying, do not fall for me. We're just buddies, we're having fun.
Yeah.
I've got other stuff I'm doing, do not fall for me. About 3 months later, we fell for each other, and we have now been together over 10 years.
Hey, you manifested that. You said, do not fall for me. Universe heard the last bit. That's what it was.
Exactly. Exactly. So, but since then, it's just been amazing, because I, like I say, I manifested my husband. I manifested the house that we live in. I manifested the boxer that we got. So we have our boxer Carlos that I absolutely love. Right now I'm manifesting, we are going to get a camper. We're going to travel the US, and I'm going to spread the word to women on how to get through their things and how to journal and how to get forward. And it's amazing because I can see it all coming together, but it took a hard crash to get there. Because when I went on leave for corporate burnout, I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I was stuck in bed for 3 months.
Wow.
And for 3 months, I laid in bed and I cried every single day. And what can I do? And I can't get out of bed because I hurt too bad, and I can't lay in bed because I hurt too bad, and all of this going. And I started watching YouTube, just desperately looking for something that would interest me.
Yeah.
And I finally found somebody who was traveling the US and doing videos in their camper. And I fell in love with the idea. And the more that I watched it, then my husband started watching it with me. We've been watching it for about 1.5 years, and we know that this is going to be our life once our son graduates. So we have about 5 years to where we're just going to manifest the best life ever.
I love it. I love it. That's so cool. That's like, you probably found, like, once you got into manifesting, that you'd actually manifested your toxic relationships too, without realizing. Like, I did the same thing. I literally, like, I remember when I got with my first boyfriend. I remember before that I was like, I just want a boyfriend. Like, all of my friends have got boyfriends. I've never had a boyfriend. All my friends have had sex. I'm a virgin. Like, they hadn't. I mean, half of them lied about it, but still, it was just that kind of. I'd hit that age that I was just like, I want a boyfriend. I just want someone to cuddle. Like, and and then I got that. I got just that. I got somebody else's boyfriend. He was in a relationship. Like, it was like, that is what I got. And then the second guy I was with, I was like, look, I'm over the fact they've got to be over 6 foot. Like, that's fine, as long as they're funny. I just want someone that's funny. Okay, they've just got to make me laugh. And they're not like treating me like shit all the time. They're not bashing me about and stuff like that. Like, just want someone funny. And then I got with my second boyfriend, who was he was like a stoner, hypnotisty, magician type, and he was funny. He was really funny. We were only ever meant to be friends. Like, he wasn't a toxic relationship. Like the relationship was toxic because there was a lot of drugs involved, but he wasn't a toxic person. We just weren't compatible. We were only ever meant to be friends, kind of thing. Um, but that's what I manifested. I said, just give me funny, and they did. They just gave me funny. There was no spark. There was nothing like that. And but he wasn't kind of physically attractive to me. He wasn't kind of my type, I guess. So then the next time it was like, I'm not getting with someone unless they have abs. I need Shannon Tatum abs. You know, I need I need boulder shoulders. I need abs. And what did the universe give me? A muscly narcissist. And it was like it was just like, oh, for goodness sake. When I actually learned about manifesting, it was like I did it to myself. I was not specific enough. I did
Oh,
not
you.
ask for the right stuff, and then I nearly did it again after we split. And I was kind of like, after I'd started my healing journey, and was was like, right, I'm gonna kind of like, I'm ready to start dating. And I was like, right, I've been with skint blokes now. Give me someone rich. I just want rich. And then there was a married man that attempted to have an affair with me who was quite minted. And then I was like, no, not doing this. I have learnt my lesson, and obviously didn't go down that route. But it was like, I manifest these people, and then but I'm not specific enough. And it's the same in life, isn't it? You sit there and that's what they say about negative energy and manifesting, don't they? They say, like, if you're sitting there going, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that,
Yeah.
then you're actually thinking about the thing you don't want, and the chances are it's going to happen. And I bet a few people listening have ever had it where they're sitting there and going, oh, I really hope my laptop doesn't do what my last laptop did and just crash, and then it just crashes. Or I had it before. I was driving along, and I think, like, I was having to look left and right a lot, and I was like, isn't it annoying when you get that crook in your neck? I'm so glad I don't have that crook in my neck at the moment. Like a week later, I slept funny and had a crook in my neck and was like, I can't move. Why did I do this? But it's funny, isn't it? So what's kind of your hints and tips, and a little bit more about the manifesting? Like, I think that's quite interesting.
So my favorite thing to do
Mm-hmm.
is when I have negative thoughts, I
Mm.
have assigned we'll say a certain politician to that voice.
Right.
Um, and whenever I hear you're too stupid, you can't do this, you're not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
I hear it in that politician's voice.
Yeah.
So I can turn to it and say, fuck you,
Yeah.
shut up. I can do this. Sorry, I hope that language is okay on your show.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
Is
Encouraged.
it has made me much more mindful
Mm.
because I have trained myself to hear all of the negative in that voice. And when I hear that voice, I say, shut up. Okay, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
don't know
cool.
how. And that's the big thing with manifestation is you have to let go of that how.
Mm.
So, okay, that's my reminder. I don't have control of how this is going to happen. The end result is going to be this. Universe, I let go to you and I allow it to come in.
Mm.
And it works every time.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Do you like meditate or anything to yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day. I used to be one of those people who said, no, meditation isn't for me. I can't shut off my mind. I can't sit still long enough,
Mm.
all of that. Well, the way that I started was with guided meditations that were about 5 minutes long. And it
Mm.
took me about a week to be able to make it through that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then once I did that, then I did guided meditations that were a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started going to just music and
Mm-hmm.
assigning that voice again to any other things that are coming in.
Yeah.
I would assign the voice, I would box it up, I would tie a balloon to it and watch it go away.
Watch it go away. Yeah.
And if it was a thought that I needed to hold till later, I imagined a file box and I put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
now I can get to the point, and it's been about a year that I've been working on meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I am now to the point where I can just listen to music, and within 5 minutes, I can get to a point where I'm floating. Within 15 minutes, I can completely turn myself around.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, I haven't
And
meditated in ages. I really want to start, especially everyone I've spoken to is like,
oh,
meditation. I'm like, I know.
oh, I love it. I don't know how I lived without it. I
Mm-hmm.
had my anxiety and my depression
Mm-hmm.
were so high that I couldn't even tell basically reality from not reality anymore. I was so just screwed up in the head because I
Mm.
was so stressed.
Were you like
And
medically diagnosed with anxiety and depression?
yes,
Yeah. Were you like medicated? Because I think that's more common, I think, in the US than it is here. But they do tend to go quite quickly to medication, don't they? Um,
yes,
so
yes,
are you, if you don't mind me asking, now on any medication, or have you, or you,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
as of right now, I'm still taking the medication. I'm still going to therapy. I'm
Yeah.
still going to other classes that are like what I teach because I am now so obsessed with making sure that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was single mom, I didn't make sure I was okay. I made
No.
sure my kids were okay. I took them to their doctor's appointments. I got them their shots. I got them their therapy
Mm-hmm.
for going through the divorce. There was abuse in the second marriage,
Mm-hmm.
both to my kids and myself. So I was getting them through that
Oh
again. And,
wow, that must
you
have
know,
been really tough for you, especially with such
oh,
like love it. Like it was one thing. It was the thing that broke the camel's back for me after, because my ex, who was abusive, is actually my son's biological father, despite the fact that he's not his dad. He's not involved. Um, and my partner now is his dad. You know, he's raised him, and he's fantastic to him. But he that was the as soon as I'd had a child, it was like, no, I'm not doing that. You are not doing to him what you did to me, and I will fight to the end of the earth to ensure that, you know. So that
yeah.
must have been, I can't imagine anything worse than watching someone abuse your children. Like,
The one thing that's worse than watching it is the feeling of knowing that you allowed that person into your child's life.
mm, yeah,
And that kind of forgiveness work is very, very in depth and very difficult.
yeah,
Um, but to get through and understand that his actions are not your fault as the
yeah,
mother
yeah,
is an amazing piece that I never thought that I would have.
mm,
And I wish it for any mother out there that feels that guilt, because that guilt will weigh you down and hold you back. And
yeah.
if you can power through that guilt and you can find your way to forgiveness,
Mm.
it will make your life
and
completely
and
different.
some people don't ever. I literally, in the last podcast that I did, I was talking about this. My nan, her, so my mum's mum, she was with a abusive man that used to beat the crap out of her. He used to abuse the kids. As I mean, it's he's kind of the elephant in the room. We don't really talk about him. You know, my mum doesn't really talk about him, and no one really talks about him. I never met him. My dad met him briefly and said he's an asshole, but um, he they like, my nan is now 80, 82, 83. She's got dementia. She's a shell of herself. She doesn't know who her kids are. She doesn't know anyone. And she got with my mum's biological father when she was um, 16, 17, had kids at 18, 19, and then like early 20s, and then didn't leave him until she was in her 30s, because I think the kids ended up turning around and going, you leave him or you lose us. Um,
Mhm.
so she made the decision, okay, I'll cut him off. And she's now 82. She's never had a boyfriend since. She's never trusted anyone since. She's never traveled. She never learnt to swim. She never learnt. She's scared of the world. She grew up absolutely petrified of the world, and she's now going to die having never had the opportunity me and you have to like, you know, learn to breathe, like, get genuine inner peace. And so
Yeah.
if people think, oh, one day I'll learn, one day I'll learn, and it's like some people don't. They really don't. And my mum will probably be exactly the same as her mum, because she can never actually self-reflect that much. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. It's the traumatized, raising the traumatized, raising the traumatized, raising the traumatized.
Hmm.
No matter what, there is always going to be trauma. It is a part of life.
Yeah.
There will always be something. But when you can look in and you can say, okay, I know this bad thing is going to happen. I know this tough thing is going to happen.
Hmm.
But I can look within and know that I can do this.
Yeah.
That's what's going to get you through. That's what's going to move you forward. And it's just that first step.
Mm.
I'm a hiker, and so I talk a lot about when you're on a long trail
Mm.
and somebody else is coming back down from the top,
Yeah.
they will always look over and say, "You're almost there. You're almost there."
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're 5 feet into the trail and still have 5 miles to go. When
Yeah.
you hear somebody saying you're almost there, it keeps you motivated to keep going.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah,
they tell
people do
you,
it in
"Do this,
lifting. They go, it's easy, and it's like it's
yeah,
not. But you're near the
yeah,
top,
oh
and
my God,
someone's
no, it's
shouting at you. Yeah.
not. Exactly. But when you can tell yourself 5 more steps,
Mm.
I don't have to look at the top of the mountain. I don't have to look at where I'm going. I don't have to look at the difficult part. I just need to look at this one step right now. That's
Yeah.
all that matters in this moment right now. 5 more steps. I can do 5 more steps.
Hmm.
I get those 5 steps. I can do 5 more.
Yeah.
And you just keep going.
Yeah, I think
And it,
my other half does something with running. He's like, right, just one more mile, one more. Like he did half marathons in like lockdown, and he said like just make it to that lamp post, and then it's like right now make it to that thing. And you're right, you're right. It's like the same throughout life. You've just got to go like right. Let's just focus on every single day. Otherwise, you'll just get so overwhelmed if you go. And it's the same with like fat loss journeys. It's why people just go, oh, whatever. Fuck it. I'll eat everything because they go. I want to say they're like a certain weight and they want to be another weight. I mean, I don't agree with that because weight is no reflection on health or anything else. But we could go off on a tangent on that one. But if you've got a goal
yes.
to if you do have a goal that's connected solely to a external thing, then you need a coach to teach you some self love. But we're fine. And they then if you look at that goal right at the end, say you're like morbidly obese and you want to be down the bottom of normal, then you're gonna just self sabotage because you're gonna go, ah, that's ages away. I'm not doing that. But if you go right, I'm gonna try and lose 2 pounds, then it's like, yeah, it's counseling yourself. It's therapy to yourself, isn't it? Really, it's just fixing your own mindset. So, you said earlier how you help people with kind of like raising teenagers. So how do you make sure that your teenagers are ready for the real world in the same sense? So how have you obviously you've made sure that you don't pass on your trauma. Obviously, like you said, everyone's going to have their own trauma, but by doing your own healing, um, but obviously, especially as they were a part of an abusive relationship, they're probably going to have some stuff from that that's going to kind of haunt them in the future. So how have you prepared them, like as their mum, to ensure that they've kind of got some good skills to go in with life?
So they roll their eyes at me constantly, but I watch them use it and I talk to them about mindfulness.
Hmm.
That's again hearing that voice, knowing the difference between those positive and those negative voices.
Yeah.
Looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not perfect and that's okay. I'm
Hmm.
not meant to be.
No.
I am going through my journey. I am finding my best life. And I tell them all the time, journaling,
Mm.
writing down what you want to see in your life. And like you were talking about with the specific, there's that be careful what you wish for because you just might get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
write down all of the positive ways these things can happen. But
Mm,
the other side of it is don't freak out when everything falls apart,
mm,
because sometimes things have to fall apart in order for things to come back together.
yeah.
If my life stayed with the ex-husband that I was so devastated over after we divorced,
Mm,
I wouldn't be with my current husband. Had I
Mr.
killed
Perfect.
myself when I was at my lowest of
Mm,
lows, I never would have had the life that I have now.
mm,
So just one little glimmer of hope is all you need to be able to move through something.
yeah.
And to anybody, especially teens, and I want to get this out to every single teenager,
Mm,
when you have those thoughts of wanting to end your life, when you have those thoughts thinking that you can't go on anymore, I want you to consider there is no changing your mind.
mm,
Anything else you can come back from. And I'm not encouraging going for the drugs and the drinking and all of that.
yeah.
However, you can come back from that. You can die from it too, but you can come back from it.
Yeah.
When you kill yourself, that's it. You
Mm,
can't change your mind.
no.
So, I we went through a lot of suicide things with friends and kids and things like that, and so
Yeah.
it's another passion of mine. But
No, no, I
it's
can, I attempted suicide when I was 18. So it was, and I always use that example to people. If I had done that, I would not have the most fantastic children. I would not be
yes,
in the best spot I have ever been. I would not, and it's like, had I have ended then, like what of years of abuse and substance abuse and this, that, and the other. And do you know what professionals even, like professionals in the police force even say what you've said. So after I left my ex, I said, like I was speaking to my ITSFA, and do you have ITSFAs there? It's like a independent domestic sexual assault and violence support.
okay. Yeah, we have a national abuse line, national.
Yeah, so
I,
it's like someone basically, if you report a sexual assault or a sexual abuse, you're assigned an IDFA, who is like a, they just deal with like the abuse side of things and helping like with child arrangements, like to protect the children. And then you're also assigned
oh,
a an IDSVA, which is like just deals with the sexual side of things. And they literally call you like every few weeks and check up on you, and they discuss this, that, and the other, and they'll be the ones that liaise with the police sometimes. It's really good, to be honest. Like I must say, they are awesome. And like recently, my case has actually become from who they called CSA. No, not CSA. They're who get money off. They're like maintenance. But they've actually kind of deemed it as no further action. There's not enough evidence to do anything about it. And my ITSFA has been the most empowering support ever. Um,
oh,
but yeah, she even said, because she went to me like, "Did you have any ways of dealing with it after, like, obviously, you split and stuff like that?" And I said, "I was drinking all the time." And then you sit there waiting to be judged. Yeah, I was a single mum of quite a young child. Like, don't get me wrong, he was being looked after a lot by my parents, but it was like when I was home, when he was in bed, I would start drinking, and I was waiting to be judged by her. Like, yeah, she's gonna. And she went, "Yeah, it was what you needed to do at the time. Like, it's okay if you
yeah,
need to cover it up temporarily with drink." And it's the same now. If something really upsets me, the other day when I got that news from the police, I walked out and had a cigarette. I don't smoke, but sometimes it helps me sit and breathe and be in the fresh air, and just kind of like it helps. And
yes,
it's a temporary. I can come back from that. Like you said, I can come
yes,
back from a few drinks. I can come. But had I have gone, this is not going the way I expected. This is not what I have no justice here. This, that, and the other. Like, I'm useless. I'm worthless. I'm just going to go and top myself like I have done before. then like you said, you can't come back from it. So no, that's a really, and it does tie together. There's a lot of ties in what you obviously help women with, the kind of like low self-esteem, and the coming back from abusive relationships and suicide, because there's an insanely, and I've found, especially modern time, sometimes these teenagers commit suicide, and you're like, oh, what a waste. They were so talented, they were so and they don't see it in themselves, and it's really sad. And I do think, I know in America, the scene, because I'm quite into hip hop. Yeah, a lot of people are into kind of mixing codeine and spirits. A lot of like teenagers are
Yeah.
into their kind of alcohol and subscription meds mixture, and it's becoming so sad, because it's people are finding it very easy to then top themselves, um, and getting messed up in
Well,
sorts.
and living in a world where mental health is something that hasn't been a priority in a really long time.
Mm,
I don't know about how it is where you are, but here, when I was trying to get therapy for my kids,
mm,
going through the insurance companies and finding a therapist that meshes with your kids, and having to deal with the courts, and having to deal with a father who doesn't believe in therapy, and
yeah,
all of these things combined, mental health is a number one thing that kids need to learn about, a number
oh
one
yeah,
thing that everybody needs to learn
yeah,
about,
for sure.
to be able to reflect, to be able to look inside, to take a true look at yourself, because the only person that you're around 100% of the time from birth to death is you.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you can't stand to be around yourself, that's got to be fixed.
Well, and you've got to put in the work. This is the thing. People, a lot of the time, they get diagnosed with something or whatever, and then they just brand themselves as that. Okay, I'm depressed. I'll just be depressed then. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
sit at home. You get it all the time where people say about anxiety. They get diagnosed with anxiety, and then they're like, all my friends, like, they say that they care about mental health, but then when it comes to um anxiety, like when it comes to I won't go out because I've got anxiety, they just don't understand. And it's like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't understand, like that is your boundary to impose. If you don't want to go out, don't go out. But on the other hand, are you doing anything to try and help yourself? Are you getting a therapist? See, we here, obviously we don't have the insurance, we've got the NHS, but you get put on a 6-week waiting list that gets usually budged down loads and loads and loads as well anyway.
Oh,
um, and then when you eventually they do an initial assessment, and then you've got to wait usually again for another one, unless you pay for it, which it's like, people say it's unaffordable, but it's kind of like, if your standard price is maybe £60 a session, um but that's like, if you went twice a month, that's £120. Yeah, it's a lot of money, but how much is that worth to you?
right.
Like, if you could cut down your phone bill and change from shopping from an expensive shop to like the cheapest of the cheap, you could probably get that money back. But people just
Or even better, manifest it.
manifest
Manifest
it, manifest your
it.
therapy. I love it. I love it.
Because it excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Because it doesn't matter if it's $60 or $1 million.
Mm,
You can manifest the money that you need.
mm,
Think about times where it has been absolutely, you're down at your worst, you don't know how you're going to get through this. You need $30 to be able to pay your landlord, and there's no way in hell you're going to find it, and oh my god, how is it going to happen? And
mm.
all of a sudden you find a birthday check from 3 months ago from your grandma that you forgot
Yeah.
about, and now you have the money for your landlord. This is the universe. This is manifestation.
Mm,
You get out there and your $30 is going to show up, and it does.
mm,
Then you celebrate it. You thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
mm.
My life is full of thank yous. I write down 15 thank yous a day, at
Wow.
least. And it doesn't matter if it's, I got out of bed this morning, I was able to stand up today, I was able to drink water today, I got to see my daughter today, I won $1 million today, whatever it
Yeah.
is. No matter how big or how small, you're thankful for every single thing in your life. And that is how you're going to manifest those things. So if you're struggling with the money for something, be thankful for the money that you have.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am $30 away from being able to pay my landlord. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh my God, I'm $30 short and my life is over and I'm going to be kicked out.
Yeah. It's switching
All
your
of this-
mindset from like I will be happy when to I will be happy then, isn't it? It's like
Yes, I am happy because
yeah.
this is all happening for me. It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. I can sit and say these things all day long.
Well, what I'll do is I will wrap things up, and what I will do is if you could, so if anyone does want to hear you say these things all day long and they would like you as a personal coach or just to get in contact with you because they've got some questions after this, where can people find you?
You can find me at inspirationattackco.com. I'm also on Facebook as Inspiration Attack Co. And you can also email me. That's the other one. inspirationattackco@gmail.com.
Real. And then
My podcast is also Inspiration Attack on Spotify.
Okay, cool. I will pop these in the description so people can find them. So that's cool. And so what do you actually offer? What is your service? Like other than obviously a podcast?
So right now, I am offering one-on-one sessions. I am limiting that to 10, so there's limited space of clients I can take for that. However, next month I do have a class coming up on how to journal and how to find your positive space, and have a book coming out. So all of these are going to be.
This is where the camper van money's coming from, isn't it?
Yes. All of the links to everything are on inspirationattackco.com. And then, like you said, with the links that you have, as of right now, people can reach out to me personally on email, and I do respond to everybody. As my crowd grows and it gets a little crazier, then I'll be putting more on podcasts and answering questions that way. But lots to come in the future. But I would love to one-on-one meet people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, there we go then. So I will put those links down in the description. So if you would like to have a chat, then obviously feel free to reach out. But it's been absolutely awesome having you on. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And if I get for any reason any questions for you, I will obviously forward them on to you. But
fantastic.
But yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been so wonderful. And everybody out there, go find your positive space. Life is too short.
That's what we like. That's what we like. Good stuff. All righty then. Well, I will end it here, and I'm sure you'll get a few messages.